What was your specialty act like? Did you...
Well, if you've ever seen gymnastic work in a gymnasium on a horizontal bar...
Have I ever seen it?
Well, then imagine 3 of these bars.
I was a state
or
champion
5
gymnast.
of them. Were you really?
Yeah. Why did you have to draw back so far? Like,
No, you look like you might be. You have
I was.
a very fine physique for it.
Yeah, for a 90-pound fellow I ever had.
The lighter you are, the better.
Go ahead, though. Anyway, how did
horizontal bars. There were 3 of them, and you'd fly, and you know what a giant swing is.
Yep.
You'd go from one bar to the other, and then to the next bar, and so forth. Very dangerous work.
Yeah.
The first time I got a job in the circus was this way. I went down to a place called Petersburg, Virginia, and we met a show called the K Brothers Show. This was the show we worked on. And old man Ketro, which was his real name, said to my little partner Nick and I, he said, let's see what you boys can do. We went out, and I was doing a trick called a cutaway between bars, which is a forward somersault. You grab the bar and shoot your body up and come down backwards, turn over, do a half somersault, catch the next bar, then swing on to another half somersault to the other bar.
If you're still conscious.
If you're still conscious. Well, I was so scared and so nervous that as I jumped to the bar, I lost my timing, and as I shot my body out, I grazed my knees on the bar, and it cut my swing back. I swing down. I came down, and I turned over. I reached for the bar. I caught it on my fingertips, but I couldn't hang on. I came up and flew off and flew about 20 feet out and came down on the ground. Now, my knees were all cut and bleeding. My tights were all torn. I rushed to the bar, jumped again. This time, my timing was all off. Same thing happened, down again. I rushed to the bar the 3rd time, and the old man came over, grabbed me, and he said, it's all right, son, you got the job.
That thing interests me you said about size, though. You're so much bigger than I am. Is your size a drawback, then?
No, as a matter of fact, in horizontal bar work as opposed to trapeze work, trapeze men are small. They're small and tiny and compact. They're men who generally are, somewhere in the area of 125 to 130 pounds. Rather small, 5'5", 5'6", very compact. They look like divers. When you see a big man on the trapeze, he's generally the catcher. He's the one who catches the smaller man. But in horizontal bars, it's a little bit different. You work alone, going from one bar to another. And the taller you are, the more momentum you gather in your swing, the more power you have, the more leverage that you have. So actually, you are what they call more lofty. And it's pretty to watch a tall man on the bars as opposed to a small man whose motions are very quick, but not as graceful looking as a tall man.
Yeah. I'd want to be as tall as possible so I wouldn't have so far to fly, I think. Is there ever such a thing as an act where a guy puts his head in a lion's mouth? You always see that in the cartoons and things, but I've never seen it done.
Well, I tell you something very interesting. I made a film some years ago called Trapeze.
Oh, yeah.
And we worked at the Cirque d'Hiver, the winter circus in Paris. The owners of the Cirque d'Hiver were 2 old pirates, 2 old men called the Buglioni brothers, very well-to-do men who had circuses all over Europe. They came from a very interesting kind of family. They were lion tamers and animal tamers all of their lives. And these old men who walked around in very simple clothes and who were multi-millionaires, incidentally, would very often go in and sleep with the lion and do all these kind of mad things. I had to do a scene where I had to be with the lion. I said, no way to get me there with that lion. Now, Mr. Buglioni said, Mr. Lancaster, please. He said, come into the cage. I'll show you how simple it is. I said, nothing doing. I'll stand outside and watch you. I said, I'll fall off the trapeze or anything you want, but I will not get in there with the lion. He said, let me show you something. He went into the tent, took the lion, opened the lion's mouth, and put his head inside of the lion's mouth. He turned to me, he said, you see how simple it is? I said, I'm sorry, you're not going to get me in there. A week later, the real lion tamer who worked in the show did the same trick, and the lion bit his head off.
Isn't that a lovely story, boys and girls? I didn't... I asked for it, and so did he.
There's some computer in me that saved me. Something made me realize I shouldn't do that.
Brother.
Also, I'm a coward, let's face it.
Anyway.
Where lions are concerned.
That's all.